And for that to happen, the Trinity itself needs to be relational, communal, needs to be together and belonging, and there needs to be that important thing. Now, everything in our faith also considers two dimensions. We often talk about it when we talk about things of the faith. There's a vertical dimension. That's the relationship that each one of us has with God in Christ, with the Spirit, with the Creator. Okay. But because of that relationship, there's also a relationship that is horizontal. That is the relationship that because we have a relationship with God, we have a relationship with each other. And the text reminds us today that what we need to know that's very important about that is if we don't have those connections, if we don't have that heavenly, that eternal, that transcendent coming together with the horizontal, the earthly, the practical, the reality of our living experiences, then we are not in the business of relationship with God, because it's all about that. God is a God of truth. But it's not about, I have all the truth. What does the lesson say today? It says, you're not ready for everything you need to know. I will send the Spirit, and He will come, and He will make you more aware and explain to you what it means to be in relationship with me. Now, does that mean the disciples didn't get everything they were supposed to get? No, it doesn't. It means that there's a depth to our understanding of relationship with God. And over a period of time, that depth grows as we are in relationship with God. So it means that in our journey, we are growing in our relationship of trust and understanding with God as we increase and go along in our relationship. Well, we did the same thing here, didn't we? Come on, I came in here, there was 100 plus of you and me, and you quickly made observations. Well, he's a short little guy, you know, and he has a sense of humor, and sometimes he's a little out of the ordinary, you know, but he's a loudmouth, and, you know, he likes to have fun, and he smiles a lot, and he screams sometimes, and, you know, all this stuff. And I know Sister Roby knows him, and some other people know him, and da-da-da-da-da. And I was doing the same thing. I saw you, and I was making note of your name, but I was also learning things about you. Now, that was one level of relationship. And since then, we have tried to cultivate and grow that relationship so that your faith life and relationship with God, and my faith life and relationship with God, and the faith lives and relationship with God of all the other people, regardless of where they are mixing together. And we're growing through that a deeper understanding of what it means to be in relationship with God and worship God and serve God together. And that's always developing. So that people can say, wow, I have this understanding about this, but now I've grown in my understanding of that. And I can say I had this understanding, but I messed that up. I got to come back here and start over again because somebody here helped me see something I didn't see before. But it's always that interface that takes place in the name of Christ with the power of the Spirit of God working and Jesus available to us. So it's a growing thing. It hopefully has growth to it, has change to it, has depth to it, has perception to it. But it's like, you know, I don't really always understand this truth right away, but in time I will. And that's what we're about. And the lessons say that. The lessons have 4 things that really confirm what it is to be in relationship with God and a child of God. The first is how important wisdom is. And where does it say wisdom is? It's on the road, it's in the marketplace, it's in the relationships. So God is working so that all might hear and understand and know what the wisdom of God is about relationship and community and belonging and being a part. The second thing is that the lessons tell us that the first of creation is us. Not me, human beings. All of us. We are the crown. And you know, when you get in situations sometimes and you think, I'm just a little ant on this place. Or you go to the mouth of the Grand Canyon and you look out over it and say, who am I? And then you look at God and say, who am I before God? I am nothing. And God says, no, you're the first of my creation. And I have a relationship with you that has built into it my desire for you to honor and serve me and be a part of growing the relationship with God that we have with each other and individually. By serving and encouraging and being available to others. And again, another piece of that is that there's always a tension. There's always a tension in that relationship. There's a tension between utter chaos at this point, and the other side is the meeting of God's power and God's grace, and how those two things come together and how they interweave. And if you're over here, you're always seeing that mystery of God and the gloom and doom that comes with it to you, the lack of understanding. But if you're looking on this side, you have the meeting that's taken place, where there's a deeper understanding, and there's a hope, and there's an experience of love and encouragement. And those two things come together because we must have a balance in all of the chaos that God says to us, no, I bring order. I bring relationship. I bring love. I bring hope. And so that helps us keep a perspective or a balance. And the final thing the lessons say is that God can be playful, that God takes delight in us, that he has joy in who we are as we serve and honor him, as we bring meetings together between himself and his people. Now, it's really important to understand the piece that Paul has in this week's lesson. I know you don't sit around thinking about, well, let's see, Lord, I'm suffering. How can I look for the good things in this? I mean, we all suffer. We all been victimized. We all have pain. We all know what difficulty is in our life. We all have the scars from it. But now Paul says, in Christ, I boast in my sufferings. Well, that's kind of, there's a negative logic to that. Except if we understand what he's saying. And it's part of this process of truth-making, of coming to understand the truth. That is, the truth of God as it intersects with our life. What he says is, I boast in my sufferings, because when I suffer, it builds character. It builds endurance. And when it builds endurance, then I have character. And when I have character, then I have hope. Because all of those things are surrounded by and immersed in love. Well, my gosh, it sounds like we all ought to be Marines, right? I mean, what do they tell the Marines? We suffer, and we build endurance, and we build character, and well, it's almost the same thing. But what Paul is saying that is through this experience of our lives and our sharing our lives with each other, including our painful moments and difficulties, that our faith in the context of where God intersects with us, that we build, a strength to endure and get through the problems. We build character. We become deeper in our relationship with God and understand what it means to be a child of God. And through that we come to some sense of hope that God is with us, and we're gonna get through this, and we might get some scars and have some difficulty, but we're gonna make it, and that we're loved. I mean, it's a fantastic journey. That's what Trinity is about. And as we summarize all those things, we don't want to look for this stuff, but we want to look for how's that experience going with us as God engages us, as heaven and earth meets, as he uses us to be administrative officials of sharing his kingdom. And he does that, and he has delight that we do that. And playfulness, and imagination, and creativity. And sometimes he's taken us on a journey. We think, where the heck are you going with this, God? But that's part of letting the Spirit run loose. We talked about that last week. The Spirit having a hand in what we do. And we bring up the kids' sermon, and we bring this plate. Well, that's where the Spirit needs to work. Because it needs to transform that simple monetary transaction that's taken place into, a worship experience that reveals our faith and our relationship with God and sort of puts energy into our making ourselves available to him and becoming the children of God he has called us to be. So I hope that helps you with the Trinity. And not only, not as much understanding it as experiencing it. And making it be evident in your life and in your faith, in your hands and your feet, as God celebrates and smiles down on and enables those things to happen that honor and serve and bless him and grow his kingdom. The peace of God which passes all understanding. Keep your hearts and minds through faith in Christ Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Amen.